why can't Americans run our ports? Right now there's a company called SSA Marine, which runs the port in Seattle, for example, runs the entire port. And actually, some of Costco's operations at Pier J are actually subcontracted to SSA Marine, an American company, American stevedores. So if Costco is turning around and hiring American companies, why do they have to control some of our real estate just to sell us tube socks? So what we have pushed for is that Costco, to satisfy all those people who believe in international trade, they should be able to import all the shipping containers they want. But our real estate and our ports of entry should be controlled by the United States government and United States interests to decide who gets in and who gets out. One of the things that people don't think about, and I came into experience sort of roundabout through some of the things that I've done, is how do they come up with the security plans in a place like a port? The way the government, American government, does a lot of these things, whether it's the seaports or various things, they say, well, let's get everybody together, everybody who has an interest, and let's all talk about it. So if they're developing the security plans for the port of Los Angeles Harbor, including the port of Long Beach, they get everybody together and they say, well, what do you think about it? And that means that China, the Chinese government, not only knows all of our security plans for the port of for Los Angeles Harbor and the port of Long Beach and the port of Los Angeles, they help write them. They sit around the table as all the other interests and they say, well, what about this? And they actually get to have input because we're all I worked for 5 years as a bureaucrat. And we're all big on everybody having input and task forces, and everybody gets together and talks about it and writes lots of reports. So not only do they know all of our security plans and our guidelines, but they have input into what they are going to be. And now, maybe they will never truly be our enemy. Maybe if we are vigilant and respectful to them and they're respectful to us, we will get the good China in the way they treat us. But somebody in their government could still pass those off to some terrorist organization, authorized or unauthorized, and give those away. So why should foreign countries be privy to our security arrangements? However, the thing is, China has been fairly belligerent at times, unfortunately. Now, I believe that the old proverb says, good fences make good neighbors. And I do believe that we may be ignoring how much we may influence, which China we get, the good trading partner or the dangerous enemy. But China has been, people blame Reagan for being the cowboy and belligerent and all this kinds of stuff, but some of the stuff that's come out of China just gets ignored. We have had Chinese generals threaten to rain nuclear bombs on Los Angeles and make all kinds of other threats. A report by the top China foreign and military specialists declare the United States is China's main enemy. Chinese General Zhang Guangkai threatened to rain nuclear bombs on Los Angeles. He wasn't fired. In a communist government, an authoritarian system, these people are still there. So you can't exactly think that they were, went on a drinking binge or something and said something crazy. In July 2005, Major General, I wish I could pronounce Chinese, Zhao Segu, threatened a nuclear attack against the United States in a speech to an official meeting of journalists, foreign journalists, organized by the Chinese Foreign Ministry. General Zhao explained at length that China must rescind its no first use policy because China could not defeat America in a conventional war and therefore must resort to nuclear weapons. Now, if you know much about the military in a free country, you think that this was not an accident. That this was intentional provocations and warnings and threats intended to be taken very seriously in Washington. Yet our media is amazingly quiet about these kinds of things. So what does this have to do with Costco? The Asian newspaper and our seaports of Pier J. The Asian newspaper Ming Pao reported that some of Costco's, quote, merchant ships can be fitted with guided missile launchers, large caliber artillery, and multi-barrel rocket launchers, as well as medium and small caliber anti-aircraft guns. Some Costco ships can be equipped with large caliber multiple tube rocket launchers, medium-sized and small caliber anti-aircraft guns, and heavy anti-tank missiles and shoulder-fired air defense guided missiles. They could be used for laying anti-ship mines in Los Angeles Harbor. The U.S. military has seen Costco merchant ships sometimes participating in naval war games. Costco's Haifeng container ships have large stern elevators that could launch tanks and armored vehicles onto beachheads as roll-on, roll-off ships. Some of the incidents that we've had have been disturbing. There was one plot uncovered by the FBI to import about 200 shoulder-fired Chinese missiles, the equivalent of our Stinger, that can shoot down aircraft and show through Los Angeles Harbor on Costco ships. Also, that Costco was caught transporting 2,000 AK-47 fully automatic assault rifles destined for Los Angeles street gangs. It's really amazing that our national leadership just is completely blind to this threat, like others, and just wants to believe that everything's wonderful and we're going to have great relationships. We certainly hope for the best, and we want to get the best, but we believe that, like locking your door and having good fences to make good neighbors, that Americans' interests and American government should control our ports of entry. So we've been working with Congress for a long time to try to say that our port should be controlled by Americans. We're amazed at how little legislation there is for us to support. We're going to try to work with Congressman Wolf to see if he might sponsor some legislation along those lines. And we have been flooding Congress with petitions along those lines for a long time. While foreign ships are welcome to import products into the United States, American companies and workers, they should get the job and the work, and we think that's important. So I think if you have any questions, I'm trying to... Yes, go ahead.
I beat you then.
She was first, okay.
Since we already have so many of these ports, are they all like Long Branch, where they actually... Long Beach, sorry. Where they actually own that part of that facility, or are some of them rented? And then a second part B, if you don't mind, where they're already owned, what the heck would we do about it? Is there anything or do we just go on from there?
Well, no, Long Beach. That's why our group is focused so much on Pier J in Long Beach, is because it's just such an egregious example. And again, China's not the only issue. Let me backtrack and say that when people were concerned about Dubai Ports World and the United Arab Emirates, the criticism was, well, you're just picking on them because their ethnicity, or you don't. If it was England or Germany, you wouldn't care. And that's perhaps a valid criticism, because we should have a neutral policy. It should be, we want to control our own fate, and it doesn't matter who it is, whether we like them or not. It's just a matter of principle. But Long Beach is a particularly egregious example. They control about 147 acres. Part of what I skipped over here is that they're expanding greatly. It's going to go up to 300, almost 350 acres. And that's under a long-term lease. It was not too long ago renewed, so they have a 20-year lease. We believe that while there may be some, putting on my lawyer hat for a minute, there may be some contractual obligations. We think that under a variety of things it should be canceled. Of course, if you cancel the contract, you're going to have to put people back in the position they were in. You have to compensate them for that. But we believe on national security or even eminent domain type of thing, it should be a matter of typical certain government issues are do preempt trade treaties like national security. They do. There are certain things like with trade treaties, they exempt industries like radio communications, telephone. They say we're reserving these based on our national interest. That it is possible, and I think that can be done. The other ports are not so egregious. They operate facilities. They're getting inroads. They lease or operate different parts of the port, but not as extensive, and not where they have this entire enclave unto themselves at Pier J. And I don't know if that's what Ron is trying to get my attention. No.